It is said that science and technology have been the light to chase away the shadows of the demon-haunted world. Where men once slew dragons and defeated evil spirits through ritual, now science and technology do through discovery. But what happens when these things turn against us? Join us tonight as we look into the frightening tale of the mysterious Kuykendall phone calls.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Deceptive Reality Podcast.
Woo.
I'm Nick, who is in love with his new clacker board, his slate. And with me is the ever humble Bert.
You know, I'm going to call you the clickety-clack Nick.
Clickety-clack Nick.
Clickety-clack Nick and the old
I
humble
love that
Bert.
thing. Man,
Now, what doesn't...
you are humble.
What
You are.
nobody knows is I also have the same one.
The same one. Isn't this? These are so nice.
Look at that. And I told Nick, I said, listen, you're going to have to get... He has one, but he's got it far away. I've also got my color grading card.
I know.
Which is hard to believe because our color grading is not that great. But this is how I find out what color everything is in post-production.
That's right. I see. Mine's kind of small. It's about this size.
But it works.
Well, I assume.
Yeah, it works.
You can let me know next time because I'll have it next time for sure.
The reason I like the big one is because if I'm farther away,
right,
I don't have to zoom in 200% because I feel like that at that point it degrades the color.
Yeah, I think for like our purposes here, like I could just easily.
Oh yeah, you're right there.
Hold it up. It's pretty cool. It's on like a key on a lanyard. And
oh yeah. You want to hold it further away though, where the light picks up, because it's got to be the same lighting as what you're in.
Right. And then you want to adjust it a few times so you can get at least one frame where there's no glare on it. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm learning all this stuff. I bought and we're not sponsored by these guys, but we should be.
We should be.
I bought.
I know where he's going.
I got a good deal on a course on Udemy.
Oh,
for filmmaking.
You went somewhere else.
Oh, where did you think I was?
I thought you was going to say something about newer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd prefer that even.
Good night.
Because a lot of our gear is from. I always want to say newer.
That's
like too
probably right.
There.
I always call it newer, but I'm probably wrong on that.
If they want us to say it right, they can sponsor us.
That's right. You pay us. We'll say whatever you want.
Yeah, we'll say it right even. But yeah, I've taken that course. It's like used by a lot of companies that want to train people in filmmaking, and it's really good.
And it's not super expensive.
No, it was pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's relatively cheap, especially for what you learn. You learn a lot of stuff there. There used to be courses. What was that called? They had a 5-part class. It was an online class. I took it. It was years ago, but they kind of went to the meat and potatoes, so to speak. But the cool thing was I could do it now. Somewhere in my email, there's links and I can go back to it even to this day if I need like a refresher on something.
Yeah.
It's like the best thing ever.
Man, my real life education was kind of waste because I can't go back to that.
I feel you.
What a waste. University.
Waste.
What a waste.
Complete waste.
Just kidding. It's fine.
Did you check out Film Riot?
I don't think so.
The YouTube channel I told you about?
Oh, I may have actually. I've got so many of these followed now. I don't even know what's what.
Film Riot is amazing.
Yeah.
And the stuff that they tell on there for free just blows my mind. I learned a lot of stuff from them. A
lot of stuff on there.
Well, they cover a lot of stuff for like After Effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they cover all the good stuff.
I seem to really like videos about lighting. That seems to be what I'm like really into.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I choose one of the more expensive aspects of it, but that's me. I'm addicted to throwing away money.
I feel you on that. Listen, with this upcoming Hinsdale Wildwood, we're gonna use some of that stuff because we're gonna have a lot of B-roll material while we're there.
Oh, I know. I'm hoping they'll let me bring some of my equipment across the border because I'd love to have like a little, a couple wearable cams and stuff like that.
The only thing that I'm wondering is if we make it too high production, if it would take away from the run and gun feel.
Oh, I'll probably like fall over enough that people will not believe it's high production.
Well,
I'm bumping into things and running into things all the time.
I figure definitely I'm going to bring my dolly, my drone,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
my Sony Alpha 2.
Mm-hmm.
As far as just film production stuff goes.
Yeah, I'm probably just going to try to bring a couple, cameras. I think,
yeah.
And maybe a tube light or two.
That's probably a good
just
idea.
in case. Yeah.
But we're going to be in a dark house next. Supposed to be spooky, scary. We can't see nothing.
I mean, these tube lights are not top of the line. They're not going to light up too much. These are close proximity ones, I'll tell you.
Well, for anyone that watches, you're going to want to definitely subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you're going to want to be here. We're doing that next year. That's going to be a big deal. We're already planning it all out right now. We've already paid for it. It's scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about this another 52 weeks with you guys.
Yeah, really.
You guys are going to be sick of hearing it.
Subscribe.
That's right. You got an entire year.
So get on that. It's not hard.
Man, oh man. I saw this weekend probably the most scary video I've ever seen in my entire life, Nick.
Oh, what's that?
So I was scrolling through the TikTok machine,
mm-hmm.
and this woman, I swear to goodness, I thought this was fake. I'm not convinced that it's not fake.
Okay.
But she was talking about this guy that she saw on the TikTok machine.
Right, it was like Inception so far.
Yes, it's definitely like Inception. You're right. I'm looking to see what the name of it is. I might be able to get away with not. I might be able to put the clip in there. I don't know. I'll see. But the title of it was Vampires Caught on Camera, Part 1.
Oh, man, but you hate vampires.
I know. That's why I'm so scared. That's what it looked like. Look at that lady's face. She's scared to death.
She looks unhappy in some way.
So she has this other guy's video on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ain't no vampires. Like, it's cute. Like, it's all glitter and stuff like this. And this guy talked about, he was trying to make it sound like he was not a vampire.
Okay, so he's doing reverse psychology on us.
Yes. But I think he might be a vampire. I'm not for sure.
He might be.
Not for sure.
You know, there for sure is at least, there's one type of vampire for sure. For sure. And that is energy vampire. Like those people that suck the life out of a room whenever they enter.
I call them dementors.
That's a good word too. But they don't have cool cloaks like that.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if those at home can see this guy. See his teeth all normal and stuff there?
Yeah.
He's basically talking about how he's not a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
But then he kind of alludes to the fact that he might be a vampire.
Well, man, he's got to make up his mind.
Here's the thing. It scares me even watching this. He's got normal teeth in one clip.
I can't figure out if you're serious or not.
Oh, I'm dead. Dead.
Yeah.
I can't say the other word, but.
Oh, okay.
And in the very next thing.
Okay, he's got little pointies there.
Here's the thing. As he's doing this, he goes like, and they go right back up inside of his mouth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I was at Spirit Halloween last week.
Yeah.
And they have vampire fangs that are not the kind I had when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this little thing that gets hidden back in your mouth and you control it with your tongue. And it will make the teeth go shh, 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 shh. Like back in True Blood, if you remember that.
So you're saying this guy might not be a vampire? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I don't want to ruin it for you, so he might be, but there is high-tech fangs these days.
I don't know, Nick. Wouldn't you see it over his teeth, though?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I figure if there's vampires, they're like really monstery looking things. I don't think like good looking people vampires are a real thing. I personally don't think that.
He says that, though. He says that the assumption that everyone has about vampires is incorrect. He says it hurts when their fangs come out, too.
Does it?
That's what he says. He says it hurts for like a few days. But here's the thing. Like, I watch all these this video, it's like 6 minutes, 45 seconds. I watched the whole thing, Nick.
I think you got brainwashed. I think that's what happened.
I don't know. I'm so... Okay. This is the worst thing Bert will ever see in this podcast. I'm so damn scared of this thing, Nick. I'm like, wow.
See, I thought you hated vampires because you didn't believe in them.
No, I hated them because I do believe in them.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, if I didn't believe in them, I wouldn't care about no freaking vampire.
Oh, I suppose that's true.
But like every other scene with him, Nick, his teeth is normal. But he just says it and then they go down on him, Nick. I don't understand.
Send me that video. I'll look at it later.
Dude,
I should be able to tell if it's
so creepy because I don't see anything over top of his teeth. And when he smiles, they look so normal. Like man has great looking teeth. Look at those things.
He looks very pleasant, I guess.
Yeah, until he's sucking your neck. Now, he does say the things that he says is he goes, this theory about daywalkers, that's not true. He goes,
Is he talking creepy like that?
No, he talks very normal. I'm just creepy,
okay.
Nick.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But he talks and he says something like, the myth about daywalkers, that was all made up so you guys would not be scared to walk out in the daylight. And I'm like, the man's making sense. Okay. Now here
is he saying that daywalkers, like vampires that are daywalkers, is not true, or it is true?
He's saying it is true, but people say that they can only be out at nighttime, so we're not scared to go out in the daytime.
Oh, okay.
But then I sit there and I'm like, that ain't true. And I'm like, wait a second. Everything we talk about is conspiracy theories. So.
Well, I'll say one thing in his favor. Like, if it would be a lot harder for them to get caught if they could go out in the daylight, because then we'd be like, well, I guess he's not a vampire.
Exactly. That's what he's saying. He also says that, there's this theory that when you get bit by a vampire, you become a vampire. And he goes,
right.
No, most people die. Like, oh,
right.
Well,
okay.
Shoot. Solid.
Well, yeah.
He says they don't live forever.
No. How long do they live longer at least?
Here's the thing, Nick. Here's the thing. He said that he had a picture of him in the 1800s or something. Mm-hmm. He pulls a picture of a guy that looks just like him.
Okay.
I don't know. The guy might be a vampire, Nick. That's all I know.
Maybe. The thing though is I don't think, like, if there were vampires, I don't think it'd be a big deal. I don't think people would take it that seriously. I think they'd just be like, oh, we got to accept them. They're a thing that's here.
No, we don't have to do that, Nick. We don't have to.
I don't know. It would be kind of racist for us not to like persecute them or something, Can't be doing that. This is 2024. You can't.
He said that he loves garlic.
Oh, well, yeah. I can relate to that.
But vampires don't like garlic, Nick.
I think that was just made up.
That's what he said.
Right. Because that wouldn't make sense. Why wouldn't he like garlic?
He said
everyone likes garlic.
Silver doesn't hurt him.
Okay. All right.
Wait a second.
What about crosses?
Wait a second, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
What's your teeth look like, Nick?
It's just jagged all the way around.
Looks just like his, Nick. Looks just like his.
Sharp. That's pretty sharp.
Listen, if I don't come back from Hinsdale and from Wildwood, check on good old our Canadian friend Nick.
Well, that's why I was like, telling you shouldn't sprinkle holy water on me. I was like getting a little nervous when you were talking about that.
Man, I'm going to have to send Nick that video. I'm going to have you as our vampire correspondent. I'm going to have you take a look into this.
Well, I'll tell you what, I love vampire stories. And, back in the day, I used to like Vampire the Masquerade and stuff like that.
No clue what that is.
But it's a role-playing game where everyone's vampires.
Oh. It's like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, it would be. Well, no, because you like werewolves and their natural enemies are werewolves in that game.
I do like that part.
Yeah, so like some people play werewolves and some people play vampires.
I'd always be the werewolf.
Oh, I know. And generally, they're way more powerful in that game.
I prefer to be called a lichen.
Yes, I think they do too.
Yeah.
But all that being said, I am probably, of all things that we talk about, the most skeptical about vampires.
I don't know. I don't believe that after this guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always thought that there might have been vampires back in the day. I think they're still here, Nick.
Oh, well, you know what? If they were around back in the day, they're definitely still here.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I think so. You know what's really freaky is Chinese vampires.
Oh.
Yeah, there's
That's
certain
racist.
ones that, kind of, I guess. But they have ones where their body's dead, but their head comes off their bodies and it pulls all their organs out with it, and they fly around and make people sick.
That's way more terrifying, Nick.
You're telling me.
Good night.
And then there's other ones that they can only move by hopping, which is much less terrifying.
Wow, that's spooky.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing: I find out that you're scared of vampires, not that you.
I didn't say I'm scared
them or whatever. Well, I don't. You seem kind of scared.
No.
Okay.
Nope. Not at all.
But just like how a lot of times people say, all these separate cultures came up with religion, so there must be something to it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All these separate cultures that never met each other came up with vampires too. So, maybe there's something to that.
Listen, my theory is if it's a vampire and I have to, I will use my hypno against him.
Oh, you got some Pokemon cards on the go there.
Always, Nick. You never know when you need a Pokemon card.
Cards. The unfortunate thing,
what
I'm kind of sad about, is I wish that this story tonight was a vampire episode.
Is it not a vampire, Nick?
No, because I think we've seriously misled people at this.
They're like a doggone vampire episode.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
No, we do have one. We do have a vampire episode.
Sorry, folks. Listen, hey, sometimes, we only got one. For a second, I thought we had two, but we only got one. Thank goodness.
No, we just got the one. Maybe we'll do another one another time.
Or we don't have to.
I felt like you didn't enjoy that last one.
Or I mean, we don't have to. We don't have to.
We don't have to.
Yeah,
but we do have one. So if you've come to this part of our podcast tonight and you're disappointed that we're not going to tell you a vampire story, we have one. So go back in the library. There is a good vampire story. Takes place in Nova Scotia here, not far from where I live. Really spooky one. But tonight, depending on when this is released, this is a 2-part about when technology goes wrong.
Oh, man. Are we going to listen to the intro, see what we got going on, Nick? Is that what
I think we should. Yeah, I think we should do that.
Better not
no
be
vampires.
Freaking vampires in here.
I promise.
No freaking vampires, Nick.
I guarantee.
Not that I'm scared of them.
On a cold February night in 2007 in Washington, Courtney Kuykendall set her phone down beside her bed, ready for another night's sleep. The soft hum of the charger filled the quiet room as she drifted into unconsciousness, unaware of the digital storm brewing beside her. She was awoken by her phone ringing repeatedly, the sound of text messages sounding over and over. As she had slept, Her phone had come to life, sending venomous texts to all her friends, messages filled with insults, threats, and cruel taunts. Some elaborate, but some as simple as a one-word slur. Courtney's name appeared on their screens, each word sharp and cutting, as though she had authored them herself. By morning, the damage was done. Friendships were fractured. Her name whispered in confusion and anger. Yet, Courtney had no memory of sending a single message. Something or someone had hijacked her phone, and from that night on, nothing would be the same. After she had finally smoothed over the last conversation, apologizing and expressing her confusion to her friends, her phone rang with a ringtone she, somehow, had never heard before. The voice, terrible and completely androgynous, said simply,
"I'm going to kill you."
The name on her phone only said, "Restricted."
Well, I mean, that could be a vampire, but...
There for a second, I thought this was going down a different route.
Oh, what were you thinking?
There was a story, and I want to say it started on Reddit.
Okay.
And it was about a guy, and this guy's wife, he went on this dating site.
Oh.
And his wife had died like a year before or something like that. And he was kind of getting back into the dating scene and kind of feeling things out and was feeling real good about life. And then this girl, he like was all into this person. Then he started looking, he's like, that looks like my wife.
Right.
And then the more he looked at it, he's like, that is my wife. And then his phone started ringing from her phone.
Oh, wow.
And she started texting him saying, I'm coming to your apartment and blah, blah, blah. And like there's a knock on the door and he was too scared to go to the door. And he's like, she said, why are you on the internet looking for another woman? And stuff like that. I thought that was kind of the direction he was going with that.
Man, that would be cool, but that's not.
I don't think that'd be cool at all. I think that'd be the opposite of cool. I think that'd be horrifying.
Well, I mean, that's what we're going for, isn't it?
I mean, I don't think the story was true per se, but
no, that sounds like an urban legend. This one is allegedly true. But basically, this is kind of like, so this is the earlier days of cell phones is when this takes place.
Yep.
And, I want you to keep that in mind because this isn't like our modern smartphones with like cameras in them and that kind of stuff necessarily. Right. Like maybe they did, but they were those old pixely cameras and stuff like this. So someone somehow has used her phone to message just about everyone in her address book. Horrible things, threats, slurs, all that kind of stuff.
You know what we call that?
What?
Phishing scheme.
Phishing scheme?
That reminds us, everyone check out our sponsor. Oh, we don't have a sponsor, but that could have been your sponsor spot if you wanted to pay us money.
That's right. Exactly.
Something VPN.
Oh, yeah. And VPN.
Yeah.
One day.
Piss money.
But even they wouldn't have been able to help because they didn't have that kind of stuff on those phones back then.
Listen, but it would have been a great sponsor spot.
Oh, it sure would have. It sure would have. But, like hearing that kind of thing, even though this is kind of different, is I think of like when I'm on my phone, if I accidentally hit the video call button or if I'm like scrolling through Facebook and I accidentally friend someone I don't want to be friends with or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I have a bit of anxiety about my phone doing things I don't intend it to. So this would be an absolute nightmare to me.
Well, there is scammers that make a very similar threat.
Oh, yeah.
And they mass send out these messages. And what the messages say is, and the crazy part is they have a picture of the person's address.
Right.
And they say such and such that lives at, and then it breaks down the actual address and it says, we have video from your cell phone of you doing this and that nasty, grotesque thing.
Naughty stuff.
We're going to send this to every person you're contacting, every person on Facebook. And this would be like a crude version of that, but from a long time ago.
Yeah. But that's like a nightmare. Because like if this happened back then, people are not going to believe you that someone else did it, because back then
it's
common
just you.
thought would be you'd need to have the cell phone in your hand to do that kind of
right.
Which I think at the time was the reality of it.
Are we talking about back in the day when you went meh, 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 same button to do the
around that kind of time?
ABC LNNO.
or maybe even getting into that time where you had a little flip up keyboard that you could type on. Like, we're not talking smartphones.
Yeah,
I had one of those.
I had two
where
I go
it slid up and it. Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah, and then you hit little buttons.
Yeah,
dude, I thought I was so cool. I'd be like,
man.
"Excuse me, I'm on my phone. Oh, hold on. Ping."
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and type this message out real quick. Oh, you don't have one of those? Loser. Okay.
I love that, but the problem is all those phones back in those days were so not durable.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Any phone today lasts way longer than those did.
Oh, yeah.
Like how that one got ruined for me is I put it in I was just leaving like a gas station and I had a bottle of orange juice and I put my phone in the bag briefly and it got like a drip of moisture on it and it never worked again.
It was done data.
It was done.
My new phone, it's made out of titanium.
What is it? What have you got?
Samsung S24 Ultra.
Oh, so that's not going to break anytime soon.
I mean, if it's made out of titanium and I break it, I've never actually broken a cell phone.
I've not since I've had smartphones.
I don't think I've broken a phone ever. I damaged a screen one time. That's the closest.
Broken, it's that fiasco I told you about of the drip of water from that bottle.
I've never had that.
Phone.
I did destroy a recorder one time. I went to the beach and I wanted to get sounds of the ocean.
Right.
I put it down. It was like 15 minutes, is far enough away, and then a freaking rogue wave came in and took it out, boys.
Oh, you're kidding me. That's terrible.
Nope. It was the first ever Zoom H1. In the arms of an angel, fly away from me.
That's a lot of money going out to sea.
It was like $100. I still had it, but it was.
I thought they were way more than that.
No, that's a cheap one. That's the cheap version. It was like the baby one is all made out of completely plastic. It's their entry level.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I think they did go up quite high in prices in some.
Nowadays, you can get their equivalent of their H4N. I think they just call it a H4 now for like $160.
Oh, really?
Yeah, super cheap. I love Zoom products. Wait a second. No, I don't. Pay me and I will.
Yeah.
Pay me. But they make a great product. It's really good.
Yeah. We're like talking up a lot of products.
We are. And we shouldn't be doing that for free, Nick.
Yeah, we're giving away for free. They're never going to pay us.
Never going to pay us.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say what I just thought.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, it's for the best. We'll move on.
Like, do you have any kind of like technology anxiety at all? Like, do you worry about your phone accidentally doing something that
The only thing that I ever get scared of, the only thing is I have, like most of my cases on the back, I've always got something that covers the camera.
Right.
Because I get nervous that they can just connect. The problem is you can't find anything for the front camera.
Right. Which is the one that's always pointing at you.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I'm somewhat scared of, and I think it's rightfully so, it's actually a new gadget. I'm wearing it around my neck right now. It's the friend thing.
Yeah.
I've been testing this out. This is a prototype. Supposedly, everything that I've read, it only connects to your cell phone. It never goes out of the cell phone. None of the data.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good then.
If that's true. Now here's for people that doesn't know what this is. It's basically a necklace that you wear and it's constantly recording everything in life.
Right. That would scare a lot of people on its own.
Yeah, but like if you don't want it to record, there's a switch on it. So you just flip it off and then it doesn't record anything.
Yeah.
But like for me, here's a great example. And it actually happened today. I was getting ready to hit up Nick like, hey, we're going to do this. And my phone goes bing. And I look down and it says podcast Nick, something along that lines.
Yeah.
And it had heard me tell my wife that I was doing a podcast at between 6 and 7 is when we was going to start. And it put it in my calendar by default.
That's pretty cool. I could see problems with that maybe, but that's cool.
But it's like little things like that. Or let's use, for example, if I told someone something and then something contradictory comes in, it'll send a notification and be like, I think you already have something at this date per your schedule.
Yeah, that's handy.
So it's beneficial.
Right.
Now, I will say this, ladies. If your man has one of these and he misses appointments, just saying.
On him.
Just saying. But like stuff like that could be scary if it's a standpoint where it's like, well, where's my data going? I mean, unfortunately,
right.
If they stole my data, they'd be like, this guy talks way too much about podcasts.
Yeah.
You're not getting anything juicy from here, folks.
Like a lot of people claim like cell phones and our smart products listen because like, maybe we'll talk about on the podcast. I don't know, like we like a certain orange juice or something.
Yeah.
And then we'll go and in our email, there'll be an email about, oh, we thought you might like this brand of orange juice on Amazon. Order it.
Happens all the time on Facebook. Happens all the time on Facebook. What was it I was talking about? I was talking Link Dandy from Link Dandy Paranormal. He sent me a message on, I think, Facebook saying, hey, what's that AI generation program that you use to upscale photos? And I typed back Topaz Labs AI, not sponsored. And it was the next day on my Facebook, there was ads for Topaz Labs AI.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people say, oh, it's just a coincidence. You might have searched it and forgot and stuff like that. But I think it's pretty clear at this point that some of our devices are listening for advertising purposes, and we've probably given them permission to do it because I don't read the entirety of these service agreements. I've got like 3 or 4 things in this room that could be listening.
Right.
I've got my watch, I've got my phone, I've got Echo Show, which is like Amazon's product.
Yeah.
There's other stuff in here. My computer could be with a microphone, all that jazz. So, I mean, this stuff could be spying on us all the time.
For sure.
We've got cameras on everything nowadays. It's like back in the day, they said, if you want to improve a product, put a clock on it. Now it's like, if you want to improve something, put a camera on it.
Well, I think it was Apple that came up with this technology, and it was women that figured it out. They started going through their galleries to look at pictures, and there'd be a specific one that would say like lingerie.
Okay.
And when they would click on it, it would be pictures that they had taken where they were in bikinis and stuff like that. So it was using some type of technology to be like, okay, these are maybe more lewd photos, so we're going to put it in this special folder. But then the question becomes, where's it getting that from?
Right. And that's still a thing. Like if I go on my phone now, it tries to categorize my photos into albums.
That's crazy. Now mine does it by people.
Right. which is even crazier.
Yeah, because it's saying these two people in these photos look the same.
Yeah.
Should we label this person this?
Yeah.
But it doesn't do anything else like clothing and stuff like that. It doesn't do it.
So this takes me back because in the Eaton Center, they once put, you know how in malls they've got the big advertisement posters and screens and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they way back when they did one, and all it did was it could tell if you were looking at it from your eyes, and it would start playing an advertisement if you were, and people freaked out. That was an invasion of privacy, all this kind of stuff like that. But over time, we've gotten so used to it, we have chosen to give away our privacy.
Right.
Like all these things that help us out, they're spying on us, collecting data on us, and it really doesn't bother us most of the time.
No. But think about it in the same regard. Every single time you install a program, do you read every single guideline? No.
Heck no.
You
I
press
don't know
a
if I
button.
ever have.
I think I probably did in the early days. And then after I figured out they were 15 pages long, I think even our government at one point was like, we have to minimize this down.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to read 15 pages to install, you know, Animal Jam or something crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's all by design. Like you can't hold any of them accountable for anything, but everything we've got is collecting data on us. We have to trust that it's not sending anything to the wrong places. We don't know.
I think I saw it this weekend. I brought up Animal Jam because a lot of that kid stuff has like 14, 15 pages of stuff.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's kids. What was it I saw? It was this weekend, and it said if the average teenager got a cell phone at the age of, I think they said 12 or 13, they had something like 87 trillion data points about that kid by the time it's 18 years old.
Right.
Think of that. 18 trillion points of data.
And that's the most valuable thing on the planet right now.
Oh, yeah.
Data.
Absolutely. I want to say it's a high number. I'm going to go back and try to figure out what that was. It was like a very high number, though.
Right.
And I was sitting there thinking, you know, but it's from mostly games. Like a lot of games will have that stuff. So like Animal Jam, when my daughter signed up for that, I was scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. What's that other, the puzzle game that everyone played it there for a while?
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush. That thing was like scroll and scroll and scroll. It's almost like they hide all that stuff in there.
Oh, they do for sure.
And it's
like that's
targeted towards kids that does what?
Yeah.
They don't read it.
Right. I mean, even adults do, but kids are not even going to attempt to.
Oh yeah, kids are they have no clue.
Yeah. But what I want to sort of led you down this road is I want you to think about all that and how we went from freaking out because someone could tell where we were looking when we were in a public place.
Yep.
And how horrified people were and how they demanded it being taken down. And that was like probably roughly the time frame of when this story's taking place. They've got no concept of really hackers. They've got no, like, this would seem like a huge violation to them.
Yeah.
Back in this time. And what you're going to see in the next segments is this going really beyond the possibilities of that time.
Makes sense.
Go forward and see what they had to deal with on this.
Heck yeah.
In the days that followed that first night, Courtney's life became a waking nightmare. Her phone buzzed and rang incessantly, each call more terrifying than the last. Unknown voices threatened to kill her, harm her family, and even torture her beloved pets. Desperate, Courtney tried to shut off her phone, but it would turn itself back on, as though possessed by some unseen force. Messages flooded in, not just to her, but to her parents and siblings, If they turned off their cell phones, the threats found their way to the house line. The voice on the other end always cold, always lurking. Whoever or whatever was behind this wanted her to feel trapped, hunted, with no escape. Her family involved the police, hoping for answers, but the situation only grew more bizarre. The authorities initially suspected a cruel prank, perhaps orchestrated by someone within the family. Yet, the sheer number of devices being hacked, the control over the ringtones, and the timing of the calls defied any logical explanation. Courtney once tried to screen a call from the ominous restricted number, but the ringtone morphed mid-ring into the familiar tune she had assigned to her best friend. She hesitated, only for the voice on the other end to taunt her. The police had no answers, and the Kuykendall family's sense of safety was slowly being eroded as the terror seeped into every corner of their lives.
So now it's getting even deeper into stuff. And like I said, they had no concept of hacking at that time, but it knew her phone number. It knew her father's, her mother's, her brother's phone number.
I don't feel like back then you could hack that kind of stuff, though.
I don't think you could. And that it actually covers that in a future segment. Like, you just couldn't do that
Yeah,
at the
you're
time,
not,
as far as anyone knows.
you're not going to be capable of it because it's a different technology back then. It wasn't even the same.
Right. So, well, what's even wild about it is, and the part that I found really unsettling is, she was trying to screen her calls. So when she got that ringtone, she was like, I don't know who that is. That's the default ringtone. And according to her and her family, it started with the default ringtone and then changed midway through the ringtone of her best friend. And she was like, well, okay, let me check this out. It was just that restricted caller again.
That's so weird.
Yeah, because so the police, obviously, if anyone would have known something about this, it would probably be the police. And they were just like, got to be someone in the family. That's all there is to it.
Right.
You're either all lying or it's someone in the family.
I do remember as a kid, my uncle had a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And he got the phone bill one month, and there was like all these charges on this.
Right.
This whatever, those old 976 telephone numbers back in the day.
Yeah.
And he kept going back to the phone company. He was like, this isn't me. Like, I don't understand what this is. They ended up tapping that phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was still happening. Like, it was still going on.
Oh, really?
And they could never figure out what caused it. And that was a landline phone.
That's so weird.
It's very weird. Because back then, the only, like, even if you took down like phone lines, I don't know how you could, like, nowadays you can spoof anything.
Oh, yeah. And they do it all the time.
Do it all the time. But like in the mid 90s, like, that technology just wasn't, it didn't make sense.
Right. Like, even the police are just like, had no concept that this could be anyone. Like, if you're not holding the phone, it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like, now I was part of a weird experience with a company called TELUS one time. This is many years after when this would have took place.
Yeah.
Well, their text messages, their text messages used to run off email addresses, kind of.
Yeah.
And they had some kind of error where everyone was getting text messages meant for everyone else.
Oh, wow.
So in my local area in TELUS, everyone was just getting random snippets. And like, you'd text once and it would go to one person, you text again and it would go to another. And these are complete strangers that you've never texted before.
That's crazy.
So I don't know whatever caused that. It went on for about an hour and then everything went back to normal. They never did any kind of announcement for it. But That was weird. There's ghosts in these machines almost sometimes.
Yeah.
But this one was turning on her phone when it was off. And even if they had a concept of like how to hack a cell phone, if they couldn't get them to answer, they'd just start doing it on their home phone, their landline.
That's so wild.
Right, exactly. So this is it's almost like if you know, in the 20s someone came along with an iPhone. Like that's the difference in what's possible and what's not.
Right.
Like it would have been really weird.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but this was happening all day and night. Like people could see them getting these calls. Like they could put their phones all down in the same place and it would just start happening. So it couldn't have been any one of them.
That's so wild.
Yeah. But this thing, like I mentioned it when we were playing the segment, I may as well say it now. Like myself and a lot of people I know, we've got like weird fears of the ringtones and the buzzing from a phone and stuff like that. But they must have been driving them nuts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
It's kind of like back in the old days. I don't know if you remember any of this kind of stuff. It happened for some reason, I had some weird stuff happen in my family. But anyway,
Yeah.
the people that would just call and just listen.
Yeah, from time to time that would happen.
Like that was always weird because you're like, why are you calling and just listening and breathing on
Right.
the line? Like,
Yeah. That was those old-fashioned perverts everyone used to talk about.
you know, yeah, probably so. But it'd be weird because it like sometimes I felt like it was women too.
Oh, it could have been. There's perverts of all.
Yeah, but like when you think of perverts is generally men-based is how
That
most
is
people
true.
think. So to think that a woman would do it, and then the whole point of it is, why even do it? Like, what's the point?
Yeah. Sometimes, back when landlines were a big thing, I have had experience where that would happen, and it's almost like something's wrong with them.
It could be.
You know? Like almost like they're not doing it on purpose or something like that. But think about this, like, you know how we have people who sleepwalk
Yeah.
and do different things. Like a lot of people had phones next to their bedside. You know, they might pick it up and just randomly dial in their sleep and then not say anything. Could have been anything.
Could have been. I know that we had what was believed to be like a cousin that we always thought that she was the one that was doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think the story came out that she was caught doing it to like someone else. And then it kind of moved
really?
around the family that this person does this.
Okay.
But I was
Yeah,
always
that's really
like,
weird.
it's always like, why? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Just to get hung up on?
Right. You'd think that they would explain themselves at least once they got caught or something. Like
At
that.
least something like what's the like I sit back and I think of all the, and maybe I'm too deep of a thinker, but it's like, what's the point? But like in the case of our story, it's like as nerve-wracking as something like that is, now think about something like this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like it'd be way worse.
Way worse. And this is happening all day and night. Like this person, you know, you might be tempted to think, oh, it's someone just messing around with them.
Yeah.
You know, but this is at the point where it's like, for some reason, whoever this is seems to hate them. Hate them.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's pretty wild. Our attitudes around phones have changed a lot too. Because my grandmother, when she was still around, like she was around when party lines were a thing and like before that even. And when she was done on a phone call, it was just like a conversation. Like if you were talking to someone and you were done, you might just walk away or something.
Yeah.
She'd be like, you'd be talking to her on the phone and she'd be like, all right. And she's hung up on you.
Like, she's like, I'm done.
When she was done, she was just like a in-person conversation. And
Not
a lot
to
of
say.
people were like that way.
Story's done.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I had to say.
It's like the old
Hang
prison system. You have 3 minutes with grandma.
Right. Except you don't even get a notification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Time is up.
Right. And then party lines. Some places around here, I only learned a little while ago, still had party lines in the 90s.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And they didn't want to get rid of them.
That's insane.
I was told their entertainment used to be that they'd pick up the line and keep quiet and just listen. And that kind of makes me think of what you're talking about, where people call people up and just listen.
Could be, but they're calling to listen to the other person on the other end.
Right.
This
like thing was they were listening to conversation.
Yeah. This was they just listen to someone go, hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Stop calling our house, you deadbeat.
I know, right?
Or other things that mom would say that I can't repeat on this podcast.
Yeah. But I mean, this is everything we've talked about to the next level.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this a number of times because it keeps getting worse. Want to hear a little more of what's happening to this poor family?
Well, now I got to know, Nick.
The police, skeptical from the start, listened to the Kuykendall family's story with thinly veiled disbelief. The notion that someone could control so many devices simultaneously, alter ringtones, and even turn phones back on remotely seemed beyond reason. It bordered on the impossible. One officer muttered under his breath that even the military couldn't perform such feats, not outside of classified operations. They hinted, delicately at first, that perhaps the family was exaggerating, or worse, playing some elaborate hoax. But just as the officers were leaving, the phone rang again. Restricted. The family hesitated, but answered. To their horror, the voice on the other end replayed the entire conversation they'd just had with the police. Every word, every pause, repeated back to them in perfect mocking clarity. This was only the beginning of the escalation. As the days turned into weeks, the mysterious caller seemed to take pleasure in demonstrating its growing control over their lives. It described, in chilling detail, what each family member was wearing, down to the color of their socks or the exact placement of a necklace. It narrated their movements, their meals, their routines with unsettling precision. The most disturbing moments were when it spoke of their thoughts, private reflections, fears, and anxieties that no one had voiced aloud. It didn't matter if the phones were off or if the blinds were drawn tight. The voice always knew. There was no hiding from it. The family began to feel as though they were being watched by eyes they could never see. Soon, the voice began dividing its time, contacting each member of the Kuykendall family separately. Sometimes it called all of them at once, its cold, menacing voice filling the house from 4 different phones. In the same voice, it would threaten Courtney's mother while simultaneously harassing her father and brother. It spoke to them all in real time, as if it could split itself into multiple beings. The impossibility of it all was maddening. The fact that it could hold simultaneous conversations, each distinct and terrifying, only deepened the family's sense of helplessness. They were caught in a web from which there was no escape, stalked by something that defied the laws of technology, reality, and logic itself.
Well, new fear unlocked.
Yeah, this segment here is sort of slipped into at this point it's almost seeming supernatural.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff going on. We'll go through one by one. Like it played back to him. Like these phones, as I recall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if they had like voice memo at the time. They might have actually.
I don't know. I don't remember any of. I just.
See, I don't know because I don't remember them having much storage on the phone.
I don't remember them having that. Like I know those. Even the cameras back then was like 0.9 megapixel.
Right. I remember my first one. It was awful.
Oh,
But I thought it was the best thing going.
Oh, for sure. Top shelf, baby. 1 megapixel.
Yeah, beautiful shots. Beautiful shots. But so as soon as the cop's gone, they get a call and it plays back the conversation they had with the cops.
That's crazy. You know what that makes me think of? It's not even freaking connected, but Christine the car, like the car was just a regular car, but it's like a demonic car. This is like a demonic phone.
Right. Almost. And there might even be something to support that later on. The thing I don't like, I could go along with a lot of it. Is the only thing that I think might have been embellishment on their part. And I don't want to accuse them of anything, but the part where they say, oh, it's like they knew their thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy that part so much. The rest of this is stuff that could happen. But then again, if this was like a possessed thing, like you just said, it could.
I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is to have any of these capabilities, it has to have some type of supernatural capability of reading minds.
Right. It's sort of, you remember when we did the story of the Watchers?
Yes.
Kind of thing. And like they were getting calls that described like, you know, what people were doing and stuff like that. But we kind of come to the conclusion that they could have just looked
right through the windows
or something.
Yeah.
Because they only gave like general things in that, like, oh, someone's painting a picture or this kind of stuff like this. They're like, you're wearing yellow socks under your shoes. Your necklace is on is slightly bent to one side of your body. You're like, it's going into great detail with these kind of things. And this continued even when they started like leaving their phones in other rooms, because they're like, well, these things don't have cameras. I don't know how they're doing this, but we'll leave them in the other room. And then it calls them on the landline and it can still tell them what they're wearing, what they're doing, what their plans are for later today.
It's like the Matrix.
Right. You know what? I kind of thought about that when I was like writing this up. I'm like, this is almost like a glitch in the Matrix. Like we're getting some kind of inside view on this.
It's like, but who was the protagonist in
Neo?
Yes. It's like Neo going to another room and the phone ringing.
Yeah.
We're everywhere, Neo.
Right. And this is kind of what's happening to these people. Oh, and the other part that's wild too is it's calling 4 people and talking to them at once.
Yeah, that's wild.
So now that would lead me to think, if I'm being like super skeptical, I'd be like, well, there's 4 people involved. They're all using a voice changer, so they sound exactly the same.
It's one heck of a party line, Nick.
Yeah, I would say. They ended up calling this character the Restricted, because that's what it showed every time they called Restricted.
That's a great name.
Yeah. I remember when if you called around here, when cell phones first came out, if you called a landline from a cell phone and you had caller display, it would say Restricted.
Yeah, I kind of remember that here also.
Yeah. So
that's creepy.
Yeah, but this person was busy, and they, if it's just some person messing with them, even if it's like a group of 4 hackers, why do they hate these people so much?
Yeah, that's odd. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously they'd go through their regular suspects, like, okay, who doesn't like us, who might be doing this, that kind of thing, and they really couldn't come up with anyone.
Right. I don't know how anyone could fit. I mean, at this point, it's supernatural. It's not even.
It does feel like it's supernatural, and I think it's gone. I think it's gone beyond the capabilities of the time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
I don't think you could do it today.
No, I don't think so either. Like, I'll tell you, I've had my camera with me all day. I don't think it would have shown my feet well enough for them to tell me what color my socks are.
No. There's no way.
It definitely can't read my mind.
Well, you look at your Facebook's ads, you might think different, Nick.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. We did talk about that earlier.
Yeah,
But yeah, this does seem like it's dipping into the realm of the supernatural.
for sure. That's the only thing I can think.
Yeah, the cops were like, even the military can't do this unless there's some classified thing we don't know about.
Right.
But these phones, they definitely didn't have cameras, so they couldn't be watching them. You can't tell the color of someone's socks by sound.
No.
So, where does this leave us on that kind of thing?
Supernatural.
Supernatural. You want to listen a little more to see what other stuff they get into?
Yup. Better not be no vampires on there.
No, still no vampires.
Yes.
Or it's all vampires.
We're about to find out.
Right.
One remark from the police officer lingered in the Kuykendall's minds. Something about how such technology, if it were possible at all, would only be accessible to the military. The family couldn't shake the thought. They had relatives living in the houses on either side of them, including Courtney's uncle by marriage, a 26-year military officer assigned to McCord Air Force Base. He had always been a trusted, close member of the family, but the connection was too strange to ignore. When they confronted him, he was visibly shocked. He explained that, even with his long tenure, his rank didn't grant him access to any top-secret technology that could control phones like this. Even if I did have access, he insisted, why would I want to torment my own family? The Kuykendalls agreed. He had no reason, no motive. The connection seemed like a dead end, but suspicion lingered in the back of their minds, unanswered questions swirling in the growing chaos. Soon, the nightmare spread to the relatives on either side of the Kuykendall home. The calls and messages were no longer confined to Courtney's immediate family. Now, their extended family was being harassed too. Day and night, the torment continued. The military officer's wife, slicing lemons in her kitchen one afternoon, received a call from the familiar restricted number. The voice on the other end said, with chilling casualness, "We prefer limes," a subtle reminder that no one was safe from its invasive gaze. Panic set in as the entire family came together, desperate for a solution. They returned all their cell phones, disconnected their landlines, and cut off every form of electronic communication they could. For a moment, they allowed themselves to believe that this drastic measure might end the terror. But deep down, they knew this thing, whatever it was, wouldn't let go that easily.
Pretty creepy, Nick.
Yeah, now it's spread almost like a virus because they had relatives on both sides. They confront the guy who was in the military for quite some time. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, we can't do this. And just like that, it's spread to both sides of the houses now. Their phones are getting text messages and calls. Next door, they're getting text messages and calls. The other house on the other side are getting text messages and calls. And all of it's going on all at the same time.
A virus. Virus, Nick. Zombie
It's-
apocalypse.
You know what? It is like a demonic virus, like a possession virus.
Yep.
Like, it's almost like, that thing with Legion where they put it into 100 sheep or 1,000 sheep or something like that.
Pigs.
This is spreading to like pigs. Was it pigs?
Swine. Yep.
Okay.
You were
Yeah,
close.
so this is. I know some stuff, but not as much as I should.
This is why you got me here, Nick.
That's right. You can fact check me when it comes to the biblical stuff and the demon stuff.
That's right.
But yeah, this is when I was writing this, I was sort of thinking about that because I'm like, oh, it's like it can talk to them simultaneously because it's putting one in each of their phones. And now, since they've involved other people, it's putting one in each of their phones. And all this stuff, and it's spreading out from the center.
That is creepy.
That is. So this is, I mean, I feel like this has to be supernatural.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's no other explanation. It's impossible.
Right. So this is almost like possessed technology.
Right.
Like hell has come into the modern era. They're now upgrading the
Correct.
technology. Their call centers, which surely there are call centers in the underworld.
Oh, yeah, for
Like,
sure.
You know, where are people going to be tormented if there's no call centers?
Correct. And all of them, are
yeah.
Microsoft support.
Yeah, all of them. That's where those calls come from now.
Exactly.
And that's how they spoof the numbers, because it's magic.
Yes, I'm calling. Someone has hacked into your Microsoft account.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the person doesn't even have a computer.
We just need a Home Depot card to fix this.
Yeah. That's what I find crazy, that people fall for this. Because they're
All
like,
the
yeah,
time.
we need $400 in iTunes cards in order to fix this problem.
Well, what they do is they say that it converts, that even though it's a specific card for a specific place, it can convert into just standardized money, which is crazy when you think about it.
Yeah. That would be weird that a legit company would ask you to do that.
I mean, especially how many times do you see these things come out, but people still fall for it?
I know they do. And I know people who have fallen for this kind of stuff before. Like, it's not good. I specifically hate the people who are doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's just absolutely awful. But yeah, this is even worse because this is demons.
Demons, doggone
Definitely
demons.
that.
I mean, they're demons too. But
Marketers.
these are real demons.
Yeah, these are real demons. But the family thinks they come across the solution
By throwing everything away.
Yeah, they're not thinking demons. They've disconnected their phone, their landlines. They've gone into the shop. They've thrown all their phones in garbage cans. They're like, we need new phones, and we don't want the same phone number, and we're not returning these ones. So,
and that takes us to the next part of our podcast, where we introduce Max Hedstrom, who then possessed their televisions.
and then, wait, are you talking about Max Headroom?
Or Headroom, yeah.
Oh, I was like, oh, I should know this. Why don't I know?
Yeah, the guy that had
that's
a
a
face.
mystery too.
Oh yeah, it's a big mystery.
Yeah, man. Should have. I wonder if we could have somehow bled that into this episode.
I mean, he possessed TVs for a while.
Yeah.
Then he got his own television show.
Yeah, they never did figure that out though. How they did that? Did they?
They have assumptions in who it was.
Yeah.
There's two main people.
Right, but do they know how they did it?
They have a theory.
Oh, okay. Man, we'll never know at this stage because that was so long ago now.
So long ago, yeah.
But, you know, having mysteries is good.
Keeps us in business, folks.
That's right. But yeah, they're just like, okay, let's throw all this away. Meanwhile, one thing I'd like to add is when they got their brand new phones and their new landlines and all that stuff, they all installed security systems as well
into their homes.
Yeah, because they thought there's some possibility that there is someone watching, peeping in windows or coming in the night and sending the messages from the phones and all that kind of stuff. So they thought, we're going to cover all our bases.
I get it, but man, it's a reach. That's a reach. That's a heavy reach.
Yeah, that is a heavy reach. So I'll give you a choose your own adventure here.
Okay.
Would you, if you'd like to assume that worked, go to page 99 and we're done.
Okay.
If you think that maybe that didn't work, go to page 75 and continue the narration.
Let's just see. I think I'm going to choose this one.
The moment the family returned from the store with their new phones, a strange tension hung in the air. They hadn't shared their new numbers with anyone outside the family, hoping this would finally give them some peace. But as soon as they crossed the threshold of their homes, every phone in all 3 houses began to ring at an ear-splitting volume. It was the same restricted caller, mocking them in a terrifying show of power. The voice knew their new numbers, who each one belonged to, and greeted them by name. There was no pause between rings, no chance to catch their breath. The sound ricocheted through the walls, drowning out any attempt at conversation, any semblance of control. It was as if the voice was laughing at their futile attempts to escape. It was like a scene from The Lawnmower Man. The relentless ringing stopped as abruptly as it had begun, plunging the houses into a deafening silence. But the damage was done. Their sense of safety had been shattered yet again. The family felt as though they were prisoners in their own homes, stalked by a force that not only defied logic, but seemed to revel in their fear. The caller spoke once more, this time through Courtney's phone.
Did you really think changing numbers would stop me? 3719.
The number was their new security system number. The message was clear. There was no escaping this torment, no technology they could use to shield themselves. The family was left wondering if they were up against something far more sinister than they had ever imagined. The family would remove the batteries from their phones, and yet somehow they would still turn on. They would try ignoring the phones entirely, and oddly, this would result in a slamming sound on the outside walls, regardless of which house was ignoring the calls. Then, just like that, 4 months from the day of the very first incident, it stopped. Eventually, the police and even the FBI agreed to look into it further, but all that could be gleaned is all the calls somehow originated from Courtney's phone, both before the switch to the new phones and after. Courtney clearly was not doing this, but they believed her phone was the infected one. Infected with what? They could never tell. Why this started and why it ended so suddenly and precisely may never be known.
I expected when they picked up their phone that the voice on the other end would go, "Do you like scary movies, Courtney?"
It almost seems like it. But I'll tell you, this last part could have been written for a movie.
It could have.
The very last thing it says to him is basically it gives a little threat, then it's like 4179 and then hangs up.
Yep.
And then they're like, that's our security code to our thing. Like that. If I were to write a scary movie kind of thing,
Yep.
I'd almost write that. But supposedly, got 3 families all corroborating this. You know, they had neighbors that saw it, people from the kids' school, all that stuff.
That's crazy.
So, but see, this is, I almost swore there because this really makes me mad. Is these things that just stop suddenly, and there's no, and we're never gonna find out why it started, why it stopped. Like, this was to the day 4 months from when it started.
Yeah, that's weird.
It just ends just like that. But if there was ever any doubt if it was like demonic, I think the banging on the walls of the house is probably.
Oh yeah, for sure. Ain't no telephone doing that.
Right. And how many stories have we read about possessions or talked about possessions where it enters a stage where it starts going like that?
Correct.
What I'd like to know is, you know how we've talked about before the stages of possession, how there's oppression, depression, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Did anyone have any mental problems after this that might be viewed in the lens of a possession? Like, it was done with those stages and it left the phone. went on to one of the people. That's what I'd be interested in.
Yeah, that would be the question. I wonder if that would, yeah.
See, because how I'm looking at this now is like, was this really just the beginning of a story that we never heard more of?
Right.
Like, was this just to wear them down?
Right.
And, you know, get them through these stages. And then once it truly terrifies them, it's ready to move on to the next part. Or did it just stop for no apparent reason?
How old was Courtney?
Courtney was a teenager at the time, I believe. So, I mean, that kind of fits a lot of the times.
That's typically when there is poltergeist activity.
Yeah, early teens.
Yeah, psychokinesis.
Yeah. But it definitely would have to be a supernatural thing. Like, everyone said it. There just wasn't the technology for the time for all of this.
There's no way. There's no way. It had to be something extra interdimensional.
That's right. Back to our... Eventually, we're going to create a unifying theory that's like extra dimensional, has to do with provincial parks or state parks.
Yep.
And owls.
The owls have to be in there.
The owls have to be in there. It's been a while since we did like a UFO thing, so the owls haven't been bothering us.
You know, it has been a long freaking time since we've done a UFO episode.
I don't think it will be much longer because I really like those.
Yeah, we've gotten away from UFOs for a while.
Yeah, which is a shame because that's what really terrifies me. Like, I believe in them and I am scared of them.
See? That means we need to bring a UFO episode on, folks. But what do you think?
That's right.
What do you think this was? You think it's some doggone demons, some doggone... you think it was Microsoft support calling these folks? What do you think is happening?
Straight from hell.
Well, definitely let us know in the comments down below. We're trying to figure this out. We need your help. Trust and believe.
What was this? Was this the beginning of a possession and we just haven't heard the rest of the story?
It definitely could be. Definitely could be. Like a new age version of the demonic possession stories.
That's right. I'll tell you, my cell phone doing horrible things all the time would wear me down real quick.
Oh, yeah, me too. I get frustrated when it runs slow.
I know, right?
Man. Well, hopefully y'all enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed it, give us the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Until we see you on the next podcast. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Nick, as always, so nice.
Shiver at home. Answer hides in the unknown. Words like shadows in my ear. Voices whisper what you fear. Walls quiver with their call. Where do shadows fall? Who's on the other side? Tell me true. Every echoes through. Who's there lurking in the night? Hidden voices out of sight. Creeping whispers haunts my mind. No escape from what I find. Numbers dialing from the deep. Secrets we are forced to keep. Phantom caller in the void. Every night my peace destroyed. Who they are remains unclear. Filling hearts with chilling fear. Dialed into the unknown. Every shudder cuts to bone. Search for peace through the tone. Finding fear when I'm alone.